You said you welcome Islamophobia.
I welcome.
Madness,
That's the way.
The voting itself, it is the greatest crime of all against God.
Planning on voting?
No, it's a joke.
How am I going to protect my people if I don't vote?
There's no scholar of any credibility who has ever said voting is what we call haram.
Only obey Allah. Only follow Allah. Don't obey the laws of man. Don't obey the law of the land.
If you look today in Britain, it's capitalism, secularism, freedom, liberty cannot provide the solutions for people.
In terms of the Muslim community in the UK, it accounts for about 5% of the UK public. What are you hoping to achieve from something like this and telling them not to vote?
I mean, first of all, it's to save the people from their own sins and crimes. We want to protect the people from falling into this disbelief and apostasy from Islam out of their own ignorance.
People say that at a time like this, it's actually quite important for Muslims to vote, especially with the sort of rise of Islamophobia.
Voting for a legislator instead of God, it is the greater evil among, that is the greatest evil. Voting itself, it is the greatest crime of all against God. Much worse than all of the crimes that the British government are doing against the Muslims, the people who are behind bars without trial, for decades. Even all of that is nothing compared to the crime of associating partners with God.
I'm actually quite surprised by the fact they've actually managed to get a lot of people to stop and talk to them, and in fact people are coming over quite curiously and starting this discussion. I guess that's a way of opening up the debate.
Going over and over and over again.
You fear the creation. We don't fear the creation. We only fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will get.
So you welcome. You said a moment ago that you welcome an increase in Islamophobia. So you welcome more black people being killed. You said you welcome Islamophobia.
I welcome.
So if you welcome that, that means more of your brothers and sisters are going to be killed.
No,
madness,
that's
madness.
the way victory. That's the way victory will come. You're talking away.
So I just see you have a heated debate there.
Yeah.
What was it about?
Well, they think that they should vote. I was asking them if the EDL marched down this high street, would they just allow it to happen? And they never gave me an answer.
Are you making the point that them not voting in the upcoming elections is actually going to be detrimental to the Muslim community?
Voting isn't going to change an immense amount. But if UKIP move the centre ground to their arena of bigotry, that is a reason to go out and not vote for them and anything but UKIP.
Even though it's the fastest growing religion in the UK, Muslims historically have the lowest voter turnout for any religious group in Britain. Stay Muslim, Don't Vote's uncompromising message seemed to be echoed by a vocal minority online. One such group is Campaign Islam, who have an active presence on YouTube and social media promoting Sharia law. They also seem to criticise integration when it conflicts with what they see as Islamic values.
They want us to be like the Western women. The so-called symbol of femininity, what? High heels, lipstick, short skirts?
With the UK general election approaching, I wanted to find out where these ideas and sense of disengagement was coming from, and what this meant for the Muslim vote in Britain. We went to Luton to speak with the women of Campaign Islam.
So we clearly see agenda by the British government against Islam as a whole. In the Muslim community, the question mark over their heads is, where does your loyalty lie? Is it with Queen and Country, or is it with the Muslims overboard? That's what every single one of us has been asked in our life. And if we say, hold on a minute, I can't stand with Queen and Country, if they're fighting my brothers and sisters, then you're the terrorist, you're guilty. So then they will spy on you. Then they will set things on you to see, oh, are they really extreme? So this is what we're facing. It's either you're with them or you're with us.
They say there's freedom of speech, but when it comes to the Muslims, there's no such thing as freedom of speech. We can't just say what we want to say openly because they will attack us for it.
The women invited me to their weekly circle where they learn about Islam.
So how would it be if we were living under Islam right now? Now, how would hospitals be? They will have a fountain, okay? And they will deserve sunlight to enter each room. Now, what the problem we have with hospitals today is you come out more ill. Yeah, it always happens, isn't it? It was Islamic State that was the first people to even introduce a hospital. They built the first universities. Women in Islam excelled in education that we don't see today. I mean, look at, what's her name, Miley, I always forget her name. Miley Cyrus. She's an ideal woman, a Western woman that we should aspire to. So you sell your body for fame, to be noticed. That's also been oppressed and abused.
I'm assuming, so eventually your desire is to go and live in the Islamic State?
I find that question a bit silly, because you know what the result is. There's no way we can go. You know, if we do have any intentions of going, we'll be arrested. You know, you could laugh and you might be outraged by what we're saying, but you know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Whatever Allah has planned will happen. And we believe that as Muslims, every single Muslim should believe that.
Though the desire to live in an Islamic state may be viewed as extreme, the feeling that the government was criminalising them for their beliefs was only further adding to an us and them mentality. However, there are some community initiatives trying to bridge this gap. We went to meet You Elect, a group of young Muslims pushing for people to vote.
Obviously, from our perspective, we need to make sure that we're engaging as many people as possible, encouraging to register to vote by the 20th of April.
Guys, your vote counts today. Please take a leaflet, register for voting.
Do you think politicians or the main parties have been doing anything that are trying to engage the Muslim community here in the UK?
The main political parties have really taken the Muslim vote for granted. This is why You Elect exists, to say that you can't come outside our mosque every Eid and shake our hands and think you're going to get our vote. We're going to be looking to see where you voted for previously, where have you voted on the issues of Iraq, anti-terrorism, NHS, education. If we can get our registration up to the national level, 65%, 40 seats can be swung by the Muslim vote if we actually register to vote.
Voting? Thank you.
So you were handed a flyer earlier about voting.
Yes.
Will you be voting this year?
Yeah, of course I will. This is where we belong to. This is whether you're Muslim or Jewish or Christian, this is our country.
A lot of Muslims are saying that it's un-Islamic to vote, and actually that they don't believe that it makes a difference to vote. Do you think that's true?
How am I going to protect my people if I don't vote? I'm proud to be Somali and I'm proud to be British citizen. No matter what anybody says, this is our land, this is where our kids and our family live, and we need our vote to be heard.
I asked some young people about their position on the upcoming election. A number of them told me they didn't believe in voting, but were not willing to speak about it on camera.
Are you going to vote?
Yes, I am, but I don't know how to.
What do you think of the campaign Stay Muslim, Don't Vote?
I understand where they're coming from, because they're saying no one can be the judge except for Allah. So, but you have to understand where we're living in. At the moment, if this Conservative wins, he's going to do so many bad stuff to the country. So I personally would want Labour to win.
We came across a genuine sense of media distrust among many British-born Muslims and a fear of expressing their views openly. To find out what might be causing this, we went to meet a politically active young man. Though anxious at first, he agreed to speak with us on camera.
I'm not special.
Yeah.
I'm just an ordinary Muslim youth that happens to live in the UK.
And do you consider yourself British, or do you consider yourself British Muslim, or do you consider yourself a Muslim living in Britain? How do you see?
I don't believe in those sort of tags.
Okay.
My identity is defined by my ideas and my belief.
Okay.
So I just say I'm Muslim simply.
Do you think there is an attack on Muslims in Britain?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
I mean, just before I started my college, there was a girl in my college who was walking to college in the morning, observing the Islamic dress code. She got whacked from the back of her head. Obvious example is the CTS bill, where they're not aiming for criminals, it's just your thoughts and your ideas. It is definitely targeting the Muslim community.
The counterterrorism and security bill seem to be a recurring concern for many people we spoke to. This new piece of government legislation, amongst other things, places a statutory obligation on public bodies, such as universities, to surveil students.
We must ban extremist preachers from our countries. We must root out extremism from our schools, universities and prisons.
Critics claim the new legislation is a dangerous incursion on our civil liberties.
Liberty is absolute. If you give it away for any purpose, it's gone forever. And what this bill does is it simply takes away liberty.
Large groups of both students and teachers, including Isa, campaigned against it.
How do you think the CTS bill can affect you?
So like even for me, before the CTS, in college, I don't discuss nothing. Even if I might discuss anything Islamic, that's it, they might think, oh God, we got another one of them. the next jihadi John. It's a bit ridiculous. And how it affects me now, your teachers, nursery teachers, hospitals, GPs, they're not teachers and GPs no more, they're state spies. It creates that atmosphere of fear in terms of any little thing I do, the fact that I'm growing a beard, wow, maybe I won't get the job interview. I mean, they want to integrate us. How's that leading to their so-called integration?
The elections are coming up.
Yeah.
Planning on voting?
No.
Why is that?
It's a joke. Even non-Muslims are planning not to vote. Like Russell Brand is like, what's the point? Like, it's a two-party system anyway. The election system in itself is flawed. I mean, that's not being apolitical. My opinions obviously come from Islam, is that God should decide how we live, not a parliament. Welcome to my crib, MTV. This is where it all happens.
Do you think there's like, the Muslim community has a kind of responsibility towards this idea of radicalisation, I guess?
Not really. I don't really see much of a responsibility. I mean, even like Jihadi John, like what mosque radicalised him? What Islamic preacher was it? Like what is from what we know of him, what was the sort of evidence?
So how come do you think people are kind of committing these acts then?
The reason why they're probably committing all these acts is that a lot of them are very confused.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the smartest of things to do. A lot of them are frustrated and angry. Something always has to instigate it and always has to upset people for them to take such extreme measures.
Issa's views on Islamophobia, counterterrorism and foreign policy are common concerns that advocacy group MEND, which stands for Muslim Engagement and Development, have been trying to raise with the main parties. We attended an event they had organised in East London, where the public were given a chance to question their local candidates.
Can you tell me a bit about the work that MEND's been doing around the elections?
Yeah, quite a lot to be fair. The MEND effectively launched the MEND Muslim Manifesto, which looked at a number of areas from counterterrorism to Islamophobia to human rights, all areas where the Muslim community had concerns. We then tried to translate them into pledges, which we were hoping the mainstream parties would pretty much sign up to. The good news is all the three mainstream parties did sign up to some pledges, some more than others is the reality.
Obviously, one of the things that has been a lot of talk around is that voting is un-Islamic.
Well, my thoughts on it are very simple. There's no scholar of any credibility worth anything serious who has ever said voting is what we call haram. This is a really bizarre argument at a time when Muslims face so many challenges in this country, which are best addressed by getting involved in the system. To not engage, to me, is just stupid, quite frankly.
Right, any more hands up? Yes, gentleman there.
I just want to know what the panel's opinion is in regard to the prevent strategy within the schools in the borough. We've already had reports of children being questioned from their teachers and some from their officers.
The easiest way to get rid of the threat of terrorism is that the British government doesn't go around the world terrorising other people.
Would you call Israel a terrorist state? Okay, would you call Israel a terrorist state?
I care about the situation in Palestine and Israel. That's why I want to find international institutions that work with them. And I care about them because I care about social justice.
Answer the question, which is on the Palestinian-Israeli point of the terrorist state, and then we can close.
Sorry, no, I don't agree with the sentiment. I'll be very clear about it, that Israel is a terrorist state. I don't agree.
Hold them accountable. International Criminal Court.
So it got quite heated today, especially when they were talking about foreign policy and the Israel and Palestine conflict. There was a big turnout, however, I haven't seen many young people here today. Typically, Muslim communities have always voted for Labour. Obviously, after the Iraq War, they've kind of lost a lot of voters. How do you think you're going to regain or build that trust again?
Well, I think it's very important to listen to Muslim experiences. Look, I didn't support the decision to go to war in Iraq, but I recognise when we've got people about to die in Benghazi, when we've got the situation in Syria, when we have got the situation in Gaza that we're trying to deal with, the whole range of issues that people of all faiths and none have concerns about. Politics isn't just about being angry, it's about answers too.
Men's hustings had failed to attract a younger crowd. And with youth such as Isa becoming more distrustful of the government, we wanted to find out what other voices were reaching out to them.
So it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night and we've been invited to what is essentially a behind the scenes of one of Abu Barat's videos. It's a weekly talk he holds around Islamic topics, and today's going to be touching on voting.
We had met Abu Barat earlier at the Stay Muslim Don't Vote stall. Besides his street campaigning, he also promotes his message to his large online following through live streaming and video uploads.
The favourite Muslim for them is the moderate one. Like a vegetarian who's only moderately vegetarian. Sometimes he eats meat. You can't be in between, there's nothing in between. Okay? And you're either Muslim, you practice, okay, or you are kafir.
I recognise those whiteboards from the videos.
Yes.
So, what is this event today?
This is the regular event we do every Friday from 10 o'clock to quite late. Sometimes, you know, the idea is maybe even all the way until dawn. But the particular reason why we choose Fridays and Friday nights is that there's a tug of war going on in terms of the cultural atmosphere in this country, where Friday nights is typically known for other things, other not so wholesome things.
So essentially this is kind of like your equivalent of like Friday night going to the pub, I guess, but like...
Well, yeah, it's an alternative to that.
So do you usually get quite a big turnout?
Yeah, usually we'll have the whole room backed out, but you know, when you have cameras, people tend to stay away.
Why do you think that is?
It's because they don't trust Western media. A lot of people feel that they will be misrepresented, they will be presented as some kind of radical or extremist just for even attending.
What makes you choose to put yourself in front of the camera so often?
I'm not trying to make people like me, I don't really care. What I care about is Islam needs to prevail, Islam needs to come out. People need to know what Islam is, what is the message of Islam.
What would you say are the main issues that young Muslims are facing here in the UK at the moment?
I think that the British government, they need to stop interfering in all of our affairs and stop trying to shove their own way of life and democracy and secularism down the throats of the Muslims all around the world. Until they stop doing that, Muslim youth will never see them as anything except a clear, open enemy at war with Islam.
Inshallah, we're going to start any second now. Our topic tonight is benefit and harm in da'wah.
The Muslim is the one Allah defined as Muslim, not the one I like to be called a Muslim. People, they start to say, but the voting, okay, I can see it's bad, but I don't think it's kufr. Who cares what you think? Allah is the one who defined what is kufr or not kufr. Only obey Allah, only follow Allah. You have two laws, the law of Allah and the law of man. You say to the people, worship Allah, obey His laws. Don't obey the laws of man. Don't obey the law of the land.
So apparently this goes on till like early hours of the morning, and you've got kids in there as young as 7 on a Friday night, basically, like eating, drinking fizzy drinks, like completely engaged in this, as well as like an online seminar which is like live going on. I think I'm gonna call it a night now though.
Unfortunately, groups like Stay Muslim Don't Vote were capitalising on apathy among young Muslims and strengthening the idea that a person cannot be both Muslim and British. At a time when Muslims are facing so many challenges, the feeling that the government was failing to understand and adequately address the community's concerns risks causing more politically active youths to step back from engagement.